Nestled deep in the snow-covered wilderness of Montana, the wildlife rehabilitation center had seen its share of miraculous recoveries, but when Luna, an injured Bobcat rescued near Glacier National Park, gave birth to her litter, something extraordinary emerged from the shadows of the wild. 5 healthy cubs arrived as expected, but it was the 6th that left. The veterinary team, stunned larger than its siblings, its silver-white fur shimmered in the light, and its amber eyes glowed within intelligence that defied explanation. This wasn't just an anomaly, it was a revelation that would draw scientists, conservationists, and even law enforcement into a mystery that challenged the boundaries of biology and belief. As the cub nicknamed Aurora grew, so did the questions surrounding her existence, her unusual abilities from calming injured animals to seemingly altering the environment, captivated the world. But what was the truth behind her origins, and what secrets did her presence in the wild hold for humanity's understanding of life itself? This is the story of an extraordinary mother, a miraculous cub, and the legacy of hope they left behind. A tale that reminds us all of the mysteries still waiting to be uncovered in the natural world. The Montana winter had settled into the valley like an old friend, draping the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center in a blanket of pristine snow. Dr. Thomas Mitchell stood at his office window, watching the crystalline flakes dance in the early morning light, his weathered hands wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee, a habit formed over 20 years of veterinary practice. At 53, he'd seen just about everything the wild could throw at him, or so he thought. The cry of his senior veterinary technician, Sarah Collins, shattered the pre-dawn silence. Dr. Mitchell, come quickly, it's Luna. The coffee cup clattered against his desk as he rushed from the office, his heart pounding with a familiar urgency. Luna, their rescued Bobcat, had been under their care for 4 months, ever since local rangers found her injured and pregnant near Glacier National Park. From the beginning, something about her case had been different. Sarah met him at the door of the intensive care unit, her British accent TYGHD with concern. Her vital signs are erratic, and the ultrasound readings are unlike anything I've seen before. Through the observation window, Luna paced her enclosure, her movements growing increasingly labored. The sophisticated monitoring equipment they'd installed, courtesy of a recent wildlife concert observation grant, painted a complex picture of what was happening inside her body. Look at these readings, Dr. Mitchell murmured, his finger tracing the unusual patterns on the monitor. The fetal heartbeats are stronger than typical for Bobcat cubs, and there's something else. He trailed off, squinting at the screen. Sarah leaned in closer, her copper hair falling forward. The energy signatures are off the charts. I've never seen anything like it in 15 years of wildlife medicine. The next few hours unfolded like a dream. Luna gave birth to her first cub just as the sun crested the mountains. Its tiny form, perfect and strong for more, followed in quick succession, each arrival celebrated by the growing team of staff who'd gathered to witness the extraordinary event. 5 healthy cubs, Dr. Mitchell announced, his voice thick with emotion. This is already one for the record books. But Luna wasn't finished. The monitors began screaming again, their urgent beeping drawing everyone's attention back to the mother Bobcat. Luna's body tensed with another contraction, and the team watched in stunned silence as a 6th cub emerged into the world. Dear God, Sarah whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. The 6th cub was unlike anything they'd ever seen. Nearly twice the size of its siblings, its fur gleamed with an otherworldly silver, white sheen marked with patterns that defied conventional Bobcat coloring. But it was the eyes that captured everyone's attention. They were open at birth, something unheard of in Bobcat cubs, and they glowed with an intense amber that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Dr. Mitchell's hand shook as he reached for his phone. Gimme, Chief. Ranger Anderson, he said to Sarah his voice barely steady, and then called Dr. Elizabeth Warren at the Smithsonian. They need to see this. The news spread like wildfire through the scientific community. Within hours, the small rehabilitation center was flooded with calls from researchers, conservationists, and government officials. Chief Ranger Michael Anderson arrived first, his typically stoic demeanor cracking as he witnessed the unprecedented scene. Tom, he said, pulling Dr. Mitchell aside, I've got the FBI's Wildlife Division asking questions. They want to know if this could be related to those strange lights people reported over the park 4 months ago. Dr. Mitchell ran a hand through his silver hair, remembering the reports he dismissed at the time. Michael, I'm a man of science, ideal and facts and things I can observe and measure, but what I'm seeing here, he gestured toward the enclosure where Luna was tenderly nursing all 6 cubs, showing no sign of rejecting the unusual lastborn. This challenges everything we know about bobcat biology. As weeks passed, the mystery only deepened. The silver cub, whom the staff had begun calling Aurora, developed at an accelerated rate while her siblings were still nursing and crawling. She was already standing, her movements graceful and precise. Her vocalizations were unlike anything ever recorded in Bobcat's complex musical sounds that seemed to affect the behavior of not only her siblings, but other animals in the center as well. Dr. Elizabeth Warren arrived from the Smithsonian with a team of specialists, setting up sophisticated monitoring equipment around Luna's enclosure. The genetic samples we've analyzed are fascinating, she explained during one of their nightly briefings. Aurora's DNA shows markers we've never seen before, sequences that don't match any known species in our database. The story might have remained within scientific circles if not for Jamie Chun, a local wildlife photographer who captured the moment Aurora first used her extraordinary abilities. The images showed the silver cub standing at the edge of her enclosure, her amber eyes glowing as she communicated with an injured wolf in the neighboring habitat. The wolf, who had previously refused all treatment, suddenly became docile, allowing the veterinary team to approach and tend to its wounds. The photographs went viral, drawing worldwide attention to the small Montana Rehabilitation Center. Crowds gathered daily, hoping to catch a glimpse of the miraculous cub. Security had to be increased, and Dr. Mitchell found himself dealing with not only scientific questions, but also the complex implications of their discovery. Sarah became Aurora's primary caregiver, spending countless hours observing and documenting her development. She's not just different physically, she reported during one staff meeting. There's an intelligence in her eyes, a consciousness that seems almost human. Dr. Mitchell supplied, voicing what many had thought, but few dared say. The relationship between Aurora and her mother Luna provided its own set of mysteries rather than showing concern over her unusual offspring. Luna appeared to understand Aurora's unique nature. The mother bobcat would often position herself between Aurora and visitors, not out of protection, but as if facilitating interaction. As months passed, Aurora's influence on the rehabilitation center became undeniable. Injured animals in her presence healed faster, aggressive creatures became calm, even the plants in her enclosure grew more vigorously than those elsewhere in the facility. Dr. Mitchell spent long nights in his office, reviewing data and writing in his journal. We're witnessing something that challenges our understanding of not just wildlife biology, he wrote, but of life itself. Aurora's existence suggests possibilities we never imagined. The truth about Aurora's nature might have remained a mystery if not for the events of a stormy night in early spring. A devastating wildfire driven by unusual winds threatened the rehabilitation center as staff scrambled to evacuate the animals. Aurora broke free from her enclosure instead of fleeing the now adolescent bobcat. positioned herself. Between the advancing flames and the center, what happened next was captured by dozens of witnesses and cameras. Aurora began to emit a soft pulsing light, and the fire simply stopped. The winds died down and rain began to fall. Despite the clear forecast and the aftermath, as government scientists swarmed the facility, Dr. Mitchell made a decision that would define his career. With the support of Chief Ranger Anderson and his staff, he released Luna and all 6 cubs back into Glacier National Park. Sometimes he wrote in his final report, "The greatest service we can do for nature is to accept that we don't understand everything. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, but to remind us of the wonder that still exists in our world." The legend of Aurora grew in the years that followed. Hikers in Glacier National Park occasionally reported seeing a silver-white bobcat, always in moments of crisis, leading lost children to safety, appearing before avalanches to warn climbers, standing guard over injured wildlife until help arrived. Dr. Mitchell retired from active practice but continued to write about his experiences. Sarah took over as head veterinarian at the center, implementing programs that revolutionized wildlife rehabilitation through a more holistic approach. Inspired by their observations of Aurora, Luna and her cubs became symbols of hope, reminding people that the natural world still held mysteries worth protecting. The Rehabilitation Center established the Luna Project, dedicated to preserving wildlife habitats and studying the inexplicable connections between all living things. Years later, Dr. Mitchell sat in his mountain cabin watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of amber that reminded him of Aurora's eyes. A familiar cry echoed through the valley. Not quite Bobcat, not quite anything known to science. He smiled, remembering Sarah's words from long ago. Perhaps the greatest mysteries aren't those we solve, but those that solve something in us. Somewhere in the gathering dusk, a silver white figure moved through the trees, her presence a reminder that in a world of science and certainty there was still room for wonder. Aurora's legacy lived on, not just in scientific journals or viral videos, but in the changed hearts of those who learned to see the natural world with new eyes. The mother bobcat, who gave birth to 5 normal cubs and one extraordinary one, had done more than break records. She had broken open the boundaries between what we think we know and what is possible, and in doing so, she reminded us that sometimes the most remarkable discoveries come not from our laboratories or research, but from our willingness to believe in something greater than ourselves. In the end, it wasn't just a story about an unusual birth or mysterious cup. It was a story about hope, about the endless possibilities that exist when we open our hearts to the unknown. Luna and Aurora's tale became a testament to the magic that still exists in our world, if only we have the courage to see it. And sometimes on quiet nights when the moon is full and the air holds a hint of mystery, visitors to Glacier National Parks, where they can hear a strange, beautiful cry echoing through the mountains. A reminder that some stories never truly end, they just become part of the greater mystery that is life itself. The police report filed that day remained in the archives, marked simply unexplained phenomenon, Glacier National Park region. But those who were there knew that no report could capture the true magnitude of what they had witnessed. Some mysteries they learned are better left as stories that remind us that in a world of endless wonder, the most extraordinary discoveries are often the ones that defy explanation. And so the legend lives on, whispered around campfires and passed down through generations, the tale of a mother bobcat, 5 ordinary cubs, and 1 extraordinary being that taught us all to believe in something greater than ourselves. In the end, perhaps that was Aurora's greatest gift, not the mystery she presented, but the wonder she resto ed to a world that had forgotten how to believe in magic. Dr. Mitchell's final journal entry written shortly before his death, simply reading, "All my years of scientific study, the greatest lesson I learned came from a silver-white bobcat cub with amber eyes. That true wisdom lies not in understanding everything, but in being humble enough to embrace the mystery." And somewhere in the vast wilderness of Glacier National Park, a family of bobcats continues to thrive, led by a mother who once gave birth to a miracle and a silver-white guardian who reminds us that some questions are better left as answers unto themselves. The story of Aurora's impact continued to unfold in unexpected ways, touching lives far beyond the confines of the rehabilitation center.